Are you seriously going to eat, you fat blibbity blabbity blob?
I mean, some of you might be like,
continual.
why would I want to start this?
Sensitive. She's sensitive.
You are listening to the Tami Talks Unscripted Healing Podcast, where we share stories that are, you guessed it, unscripted.
That's the thing, this journey doesn't stop.
It doesn't really
right?
end. We have a general sense of the topic each episode, but really the whole point is just to show up and be authentic and let our inner child speak its truth. And I have continued to work through that story of constantly hearing, well, we don't want, got a hot dog on our hands. Yeah, guess what, Mr. Sabatsky, you do. So I'm so excited that you are here, and it is my hope that you hear yourself somewhere in the story so that way you can feel seen and heard as well. So let's start talking. Welcome to the Tami Talks Unscripted Healing Podcast. I am coming to you today with somewhat of a part 2 from last week's episode because, as I had mentioned, I have been on this crazy fast roller coaster ride and it has not ended. I haven't gotten off the roller coaster ride yet. And actually, after I recorded that last Friday, before I even released it on Tuesday, so many other things had happened. And I was like, oh my gosh. So here I am. And before I jump into what I wanted to talk about today, I just wanted to give all of you a quick thank you, not a quick thank you, a very genuine, heartfelt thank you, because as I mentioned last week, sharing all of that, the fact that I was even announcing to the world, like, hey, I'm in a relationship now, was super incredibly vulnerable. And then to like open up the door, pull back the curtain, the behind the scenes of it is even more freaking vulnerable. Ugh. But I know, and I have been reminded over and over and over again that God's like, girl, I'm not putting you through these experiences so that you can keep them to yourself. You are meant to go through these things in hopes to help other people, in hopes to help other people feel seen through their stories. That is the whole point of this podcast. And all of you kind of helped reaffirm that for me last week, because as vulnerable as that was to share so much of that, the feedback that I received just filled my cup and warmed my heart. It validated this whole thing, not just this podcast, but this relationship. And not that I needed validation for any of it. It's just like that little cherry on top where you're like, okay. And so I just wanted to thank those of you that reached out and let me know what part of the episode resonated with you. And that's what was so cool, was there was something different from all of you. One mom reached out and was like, oh my gosh, I'm that mom. I did that to my kids. I told them to go to their room. Why did I do that? How can I fix it? Also, what does that mean that my inner child needs? And I just got so emotional in the best way when I read that, because what she didn't do was sit in that shame cycle of beating herself up that she did that as a mom. We have all been there. We have all done that, right? We're just, no one's talking about it. Well, here I am to help you all feel it's okay. But I love that she sat with those questions and started to ask herself, because then I can reflect back and hold up here. It's likely that you were conditioned that way. If your feelings weren't ever validated as a kid, if they were never supported, if they were told to be boxed up and put away, they're too big, they don't matter. How do you know any different? You don't know any different. But can you now go back to your kids and being like, hey, I want to talk about this. I'm really sorry if I ever made you feel like your feelings don't matter or that they were too much of a burden for me to deal with. Because if your emotions ever triggered me, that was a mirror for me. And what my inner child was trying to say is that, hey, this is great that you're trying to help your kids with their emotions, but remember me over here, that one that you have denied and suppressed for all these years? Yeah, guess what? I still have emotions too. And that's why we get triggered in those moments. And so I love that she sat with that, because now, once you know better, you can do better. You can empower yourself which then helps you, which helps heal your inner child, which helps you become a better parent. Ah. So facing this stuff isn't so scary when you can see, oh my gosh. But do not let ego keep you. Well, look at me. I'm over here in my, myself whiplash with my neck roll. Do not let ego keep you in that shame cycle. And that's really what today's episode is all about freaking ego and how mine has been, you know what? Oh my gosh. She came out of guns a-blazing this last week, literally after I recorded that episode. Man, oh man, she shined bright, real bright. But anyway, the whole feeling like a burden as a kid, I had so many of you reach out and express that resonated with you, that spoke to your inner child. And I love what you did is that you heard me speaking that, maybe felt some of my emotion. And when it evoked emotion in you, you listened and you started to ask, I wonder if that's for me. Yeah. If you had an emotional response to that, absolutely that was for you. And then you also started to dig into that a little bit more. You know what? Yeah, I was the third child and there was 2 other siblings ahead of me. And so, yeah, if I'm a baby and I'm crying and my needs aren't being met because my mom is off tending to these other 2 kids running around, I might have learned that my needs, even as a baby, didn't matter. You stopped crying. You became the easy baby. You became the easy kid. And I love that this woman connected those dots. And what she said at the end of her message, I just was like, was that what she realized? And she hadn't listened to my podcast from the very first few. Well, that one found her for a reason. Trust that. If you are stumbling across this podcast, there is a reason for it. There is absolutely a reason for it. It's not random. You are absolutely guided here. So welcome. You're in for a treat today. But she recognized at the end of this that, oh my gosh, this whole time, my inner child has just wanted to feel seen and heard. Yep. So thank you all for those messages, because that helps me continue to trust that I'm supposed to be sharing these very real, very raw, very vulnerable moments if it helps someone out there, even just one of you out there. So thank you for that feedback. Oh, okay. Yeah. So on to today's episode. But first, I am going to let you know. So this is airing on Tuesday. Whenever you watch it. But Roots and Wings, the 4-week program that I am doing with Christy Bemis, all about inner child work. So if last week's episode evoked something in you, you're like, oh man, I gotta attend to my inner child. Apparently, join us for an hour for the next 4 Thursdays from 5:30 to 6:30. And start to dig into that, start to validate her story or his story, and I guess it is for women. Sorry, men. We'll get one for you. Start to listen to her. Carve out that hour just for you and your inner child. What kid is not going to be over the moon excited about that? Right? If I pull my kids aside and be like, you know what, Arlo, it's just me and you for an hour. What do you want to do? And he's like, I want you to do all the things that I want to do. You do that for your inner child? Oh, man. She is going to be like, oh my gosh, I get a full hour of your undivided attention and your energy. I'm worthy of that. And you're saying, yes, I want to know. I want to know your story. Open up to me. What do you need me to know? What do you need me to feel? What do you need me to heal? You cannot even imagine what that kind of dedicated time, an hour for 4 weeks, how that can shift your entire life. And I will give him a name. His name is Leo. Hi. He is total proof of this. I shared last week how he finally connected with his inner child. And since I recorded the podcast last Friday, he has had so many more epiphanies. So much so, he had the most beautiful moment of connecting with baby Leo in the parking lot outside of the gym. And it was just the most beautiful moment. I just sat back and was so moved to witness that experience. And since then, there's just been all of these, oh my gosh, that's why I like doing this. That's why I hate doing that. It was just like I have said so many times, it's like the freaking Matrix, and all of a sudden everything makes sense and everything connects. And it's happened so fast. 3 months ago, this man didn't know he had an inner child. And you guys, it's so beautiful. So give yourself that hour for the next 4 weeks to listen to her, to validate her, and see what opens up for you. So I will put the link in the show notes for you to click on that, join us. It's going to be amazing. Christy is so amazing. And I cannot wait to be able to help you all dig into this a little bit more. That is starting Thursday, June 5th from 5:30 to 6:30. It will be for the next 4 weeks. So there is that. And then also, I'm doing an unofficial promo for my amazing friend, Erica. You have seen her on this podcast, I believe twice now. She was in one of the very early ones, and then she came on when she helped me through a real dark moment. That is a very, very raw episode, very real. I'll link that one in here too. We finally got to see each other in person and spend 4 hours together at a coffee shop. I was like, oh my gosh. And that's what I was talking about last week, when you can't speak clearly around certain people, but yet there are other people where it's like 4 hours just flew by and you're like, whoa. Yeah, that's when you know you're speaking the same language. That's when you know you're on the same frequency. That's when you know you found your people. And the reason that I wanted to give her a little shout out, because I have known that this woman has had a dream on her heart for many, many years now. And I have been able to get a little taste of that dream every Thanksgiving and Christmas when she brings me gluten-free dinner rolls or gluten-free Christmas cookies. I have been gluten-free, which is a whole funny story coming up here. I have been gluten-free for 12, 15 years, something ridiculous like that. And it's hard to find one. I haven't had a dinner roll in years, because why would you even waste your time on a gluten-free dinner roll? No, thank you. And even Christmas cookies and stuff like that, you just kind of got used to not having them. And I'd be like, oh, well, there's another scotcheroo. I can make that work. So it was always very exciting when Erica brought me stuff. Well, she has had it in her heart to start her own bakery, and not just gluten-free things, all the things, but man, she makes the freaking best gluten-free everything. And so I am here. Erica, I know you are a regular listener. She's also a Patreon because she is a woman who likes to support women. So I am supporting you back. This sucker weighed 6.3 ounces. This gluten-free cookie is literally the best thing I have ever tasted and the closest thing to you know what that you will ever experience. I told her she can use that in her marketing because I ate this and I was like, oh my God. I'm keeping that in. That's for you, Erica. That's how good they are. And oh my gosh, the loaf of bread this woman made, again, if you have been gluten-free or tried gluten-free products, you don't waste your time on bread because it's terrible. It's like dry and falls apart. And sometimes you just want a freaking sandwich or you just want a bun and they're just not worth it. So I'm like, I pay the extra $1 at the restaurant. I'm like, this was stupid. I should have just got a bun free. So when you get a good one, you hold on to it, right? It sounded funny when I was just talking about buns. Anyway, wow. I'm keeping that in too. This is unscripted, folks. I got to keep you on for the entertainment as well as the stories. But it was the most amazing bread I have ever had. And I'm not just saying this because I love Erica dearly. It was legit the best I have ever had. And so it is called Sweet Magpie's Bakery. And right now she's just doing it out of her kitchen, just starting her dream. It doesn't have to look perfect. She doesn't have to have the full bakery just to get started. She's just taking inspired action and she just started putting it out there. She's like, Tami, why are you promoting this? I don't even have a website. I don't have an Instagram. I don't care, Erica, because you have a phone number and you have an email and people can message you. So there you go. You're welcome. This ad is going to cost you more of these. We'll do a trade. Anyone else that wants to do a trade on here, let me know. Ooh, I got some chocolate on my hand. That was good. Anyway, okay. So check her out. I will also link her somehow. I'll follow up with her after this. She had no idea I was doing this and I didn't know I was either, but here we are. So yes, check out all of her baked goods. These monster cookies, I'm not even joking. So freaking amazing. I know she does other things too, but her cookies are like her thing. But if you are gluten-free, get yourself some of that bread. Okay. Whew. on to the episode. I might as well start there. Actually, I'll start with my stone because I mentioned last week that I've been holding this little stone. I stole that one from my friend Zoe. And of course, I just grab one. I look it up and I was like, dang, this is so relevant for today because it is Larimar, is how you pronounce it apparently. I asked Google. So, interestingly enough, it is all about throat chakra activation. Interesting that I'm talking about ego and how it literally blocks my throat from saying what I need to say. That is basically the episode, or saying what I shouldn't say. So I was like, you got to be freaking kidding me. Yeah, it is strongly associated with the throat chakra, enhancing clear communication, truth telling, and authentic expression. Did you hear that, ego? Did you hear that? I might need to start wearing this. Just can someone get me a necklace with Larimar? I apparently need to have it as close to my throat as possible because my ego did the exact opposite of all of those things. Oh, it also says it supports speaking from the heart and having courageous conversations with grace. That has happened. Whew. That has happened because of this person named Leo who has been helping me do those things and helping me work through my own ego. And I have, again, some of my gym friends help me with this and call me out, and my soul friends help me and call me out on this. But also, this stands for emotional healing and, again, feminine energy, which is all good stuff. It gently brings repressed emotions to the surface for release and healing, particularly interesting around trauma, grief, and unspoken words. I just need to be adorned in Larimar, apparently. It is deeply connected to the divine feminine, supports nurturing, intuition, receptivity, softness, making it a favorite for inner child healing. Interesting. So I will be holding on to this throughout the episode. And the reason that I wanted to do somewhat of a follow-up from last week, again, because so much has happened and some big things since I put out last week's episode that felt really, really profound in my healing journey as it relates to my ego. And as Leo and I were kind of talking about a lot of this stuff, really thought about like inner child work, like the inner child part is actually so simple. Because your inner child is like, hey, all I need is to feel seen, to feel heard, to feel loved, to accepted, to feel valued. That's pretty basic. That's all I need. Just get down on my level and give me 5 minutes of quality time. When I tell you about my day, will you really listen? Will you ask me questions? Will you look me in the eyes? Will you put down your phone and play Legos with me for 5 minutes? I say that as you can't see the table, but it is covered in Legos behind me. I didn't want to ruin Arlo's whatever he's working on over here. So you can't see that. Everything back here, it's kind of like the different version of the podcast mullet. Just a Lego mullet. But the inner child part of it is simple. It's freaking ego that makes it all complicated. Ego is the one that gets in the way. That's what we need to go to school for. And that was actually kind of this little analogy that we were sharing is he did not realize that he was going to be going to Inner Child School 101. I'm like, it's not even that. This is like, you're in Ego 101 and having to sit down and go through my course. Like, oh boy. But what was also very interesting from that conversation is if I don't let him in, or if I don't let people in to what's going on in my head, in my heart, what I need to say, it's like you're giving them an exam that they haven't even had a chance to study for. And that's not really fair, right? Hey, I expect you to ace this. I expect you to know how to respond to me when I'm feeling triggered. But if you're never opening up and you're always masking that and you're always putting on the happy face, you never give them a chance to understand you. And that was a very big, like, whoa, okay. And so I'll back up a little bit and start sharing some of the story. So last week I had mentioned that over the years, I have gotten really good at reparenting from a nutritional standpoint, from a physical standpoint. Like in my 3D world, I show up for myself. I go to the gym every day. I drink my 2 shakes every day. I intermittent fast every Sundays. I drink my water. Like all of those things are non-negotiables. That is a way that I reparent on the surface, right? I've gotten really good at that. And like I said, I've been gluten-free for 12 to 15 years. I don't remember the math. But that all started because my gut health was a freaking mess because I had so many suppressed emotions and it was all impacting my gut. And so when you think about our energy centers and looking at our sacral chakra, which is all about feelings and emotions in our body. And then you go up your solar plexus, which is all about, your self-worth and your identity and esteem and all of those things. Well, yeah, that all added up. That made sense of why I had gut issues. So it's not just like, oh, this food irritated me. I'm sorry, I will not get on this tangent. That's not what this podcast is about. But I am a very firm believer that all of our suppressed emotions, your body can only be the punching bag for so long before it starts to manifest as physical symptoms. It is the only way that your inner child and your body can get your attention. Because we can dismiss our emotions all day long, but when there's something physical, you're like, oh, ow, like this shoulder thing, like, yeah, you've been carrying the weight of the world. Interesting. So when you really start to look at what's going on in my physical body and how does that relate to what's going on in my everyday life or what's gone on in my past, because I have all this stored trauma. Again, when you didn't feel safe as a kid, you're likely holding on. Like, no wonder I was constipated all the time, TMI, but here we are. I constantly struggled with those kinds of things, but here I'm like holding on, that my energy is I got to hold on to everything. And I held on to things to my detriment. I stayed in relationships way too long for safety. I held on to weight for safety. We hold on to things because we don't want to lose them. So it shows up in our physical body when really you get to the root of it and it is a safety issue. It is not a weight issue. It is really not a constipation issue. It is not a hoarding issue. It is so much deeper than that. And so it made sense. But anyway, I kept thinking like, how am I going to heal my gut? Because it was an absolute mess. And I was telling someone earlier that I used to have a whole cocktail of medicine cabinet full of digestive aids. So much so that I would go get the colon prep, the magnesium citrate that you would drink before you get a colonoscopy. I would just drink that on a Saturday night because I was that miserable. And I was like, I just need something to just clear me out. I'm sorry. I know this is not where I intended this podcast to go, but again, we're unscripted over here. And I know some of you can relate. So if that is you, feel free to message me. You can private message me on that one if you want, or you just own it like I am. But that was real. That was real. I was that messed up. It was awful. So I did this elimination diet. It was 10 days, like super strict. And I got rid of dairy and gluten, and there was a lot of sugar that I had to remove at that time. And then once I figured things out, like, whoa, did a whole reset. That was when shortly thereafter I got started on isogenics. And that's when I started intermittent fasting because I needed to heal my gut. And that was the only thing. It was like, you need to let your gut heal. I'm like, well, how do I do that? And they're like, you got to let it rest. I'm like, how do I do that? Intermittent fasting. Like, I don't want to do that because I would like to eat food. But it's like, yeah, but just like when you're working out at the gym, if you don't have a rest day, how do you expect your muscles to recover? Like, which was always very hard for me as well. I do rest on Sundays, so back off. I know a certain someone here watching like, okay, Tami. I do. I rest on Sundays, which I never did before. So progress. But now I understand that. And that was the same thing. So once I started intermittent fasting for health reasons, and I started to feel my gut health improving, I never went back to gluten. I brought back in a little dairy, but not nearly where I was before. And I've noticed things like artificial sweeteners and stuff like that. I'll get a headache, or I'm just really freaking in tune with my body. We have finally gotten on the same page after so many years of me beating it into suppression, to me manipulating it, to me, straight up abusing it. And so I have done so much healing. Oh, this is like hurting my heart to say this out loud, knowing what I just did. Ego. I have done so much work with healing my relationship with my body, not even just physically, but how I felt about it, because body dysmorphia, no matter how many abs I can see, it will be like, oh, it's not really as defined as it was last week. Are you sure? I mean, it's ridiculous, but that is ego. That is body dysmorphia. And so I have come so far, so far on that journey. And again, it was always just a non-negotiable. Once in a while, there'll be a thing like if there's a really good fried cheese curd, it might be like, screw it, you know. And not that I would have like major ramifications, but it was pretty rare. Enter this person who does not know these things that I have, these dietary restrictions. I don't even want to call them restrictions. And you would think, one, knowing you've been doing this for years would just clearly communicate that. No, my ego was like, you can't tell him those things because then you're going to sound like a burden. I remember the first weekend we were going to make homemade pizzas. And I did say, we got to get a gluten-free crust. I've been gluten-free. Well, if you're not in that world and you don't know about those things, okay, what does that even mean? What does that mean to you? And I never expressed that full story. I never shared that. And so even that night, he made his own pizza and wanted me to try it. And I was like, but I don't eat pizza. But what did I do? I took a bite of it. I ate the whole freaking piece because I'm literally just hanging out with this person for the first time. I can't seem like a diva on that second night. Oh, I know. You're all like, Tami? Yeah, not Tami. Ego. I need to come up with a name for her. I used to call her Roxy. I think I'll bring that back. We'll call her Roxy. And then the whole ice cream story, if you listen to a couple episodes back, has his favorite ice cream and there's these little brownie chunks in it and these tiny little cute containers, and brought those out. And I'm thinking like, ooh, I will do ice cream with my kids. It's once in a while. If I'm getting ice cream, if I ever have ice cream at home, I'll get an oat milk or an almond milk or just some dairy-free, dairy alternative ice cream. But when I go out with the kids, sometimes I'll just get a little one. And again, I'm okay. I just don't do it all the time. But I'm eating this ice cream with the brownie chunk in it. So now I'm doubling up on dairy and gluten. And I'm like, okay, I'm just like trying to be all cool about it and things. And then several times have had this, and I'm starting to notice my guts just roaring by the end of the night, which really great when you're just trying to meet someone and your stomach's like, so while I was trying to avoid the emotional discomfort, physically, I'm over here freaking miserable. But Ego's like, well, that's better. It's not emotional. Physical, you can deal with that all day long, girl. And that's what we do. We avoid all the emotional discomfort, but we will gladly accept all the physical discomfort until we can't, right? We've ignored the whispers of our body until it finally screams. Well, mine finally screamed because I had been doing this all along these last 3 months, right? Just a little bit here and a little bit there. And then all of a sudden my stomach breaks out with a rash. And I was like, what the? And I knew exactly what it was from and what my body was telling me, and that my body, my inner child, would be like, yo, you need to knock this off. Now you need to say something. Now you need to tell this person like, hey. So now if I would have just said something from the very beginning, now I have to tell this person that I've broken out in a freaking rash. That's not uncomfortable at all. So again, looking back at ego, do you see how you avoiding that discomfort in that one moment just made everything worse and made everything even more uncomfortable? Where is your rationale for this? But ego doesn't think about that. It thinks about in the moment. How can I feel better, avoid discomfort, avoid pain in the moment? Because that's what I'm going to do. And let me refresh you on ego's whole purpose is to protect your inner child. If those needs that I mentioned earlier are not being met, your ego will do everything and anything to make sure they are. Even put me in situations like that. Like, oh, you want to be accepted, Tami. My inner child's like, yeah, of course I want to be accepted, but I just want to be accepted for me, gluten-free, dairy-free and all. But he was like, yeah, I don't know if that's going to fly because we don't know how he thinks about that. And if he's going to think that you're being a diva, so let's play it safe. How about you eat those things so we can avoid that uncomfortable conversation right now? Okay, cool. And that's what ego does. And if I'm not able to speak, if Tami, my highest self, my inner child, are not able to override my ego in that moment, I don't stand a chance. And this is why all knowledge and logic goes out the freaking window. That's why I had a master's degree in nutrition, but would still emotionally binge eat. And then sometimes put my finger down my throat to throw it up. I had a master's degree in nutrition. Do you think that they encourage that anywhere in all of that education? No, it is not a knowledge problem. It is an ego-driven problem. And that it swooped in so damn fast that I couldn't get through. It was like it shut the bus door. I've talked about the bus analogy, is that we're all on the bus driving to like inner child happy land, and ego thinks it knows the way and it's trying to drive. But if it shuts me out of the bus, closes the door, and it's like, I got this, don't you worry. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't, because now I feel physically uncomfortable, but not even that. Well, here's the thing. So I'm feeling physically uncomfortable in some of these moments, right? I'm not saying anything. Ego is so good, so sly, that it wasn't allowing me to feel the pain in that I was abandoning my inner child in those moments. I was so focused on the physical stuff that I was forgetting that I was abandoning my inner child every time I made a decision that didn't support my body, that didn't support me. And that all came to a head this weekend. It was, wow, so clear, so apparent. So I record this episode on Friday, right? And he has this cool epiphany in the parking lot Saturday morning. Sunday rolls around and, oh, let me back up. So I fast on Sundays. And because I had been feeling out of sorts, we had to do some rearrangement stuff with the kids' schedule that week. So I had them more than I normally do, which was fantastic, but it meant that I didn't have a lot of me time. And anytime I did, I was trying to spend quality time with this person. And so Tami was nowhere on the radar. And a lot of those mornings when I do my meditation and I have that time, they were rushed. So all of those things that I do to tend to my soul were gone. I was still drinking my shakes and eating my healthy meals. I was doing the surface level things. I was showing up for myself that way. But a lot of that spiritual connection and that one-on-one time with me and my inner child weren't there. And so I was feeling it. I was starting to feel that. And I knew I need like a hard reset. And I know fasting for me isn't really about the food anymore. It's about connection to me and my spirit and my soul and God. And it's so much more spiritual for me now. So I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to do like a hard reset. I'm going to start on Friday night and then go until Monday. Normally I just go, Saturday night through Monday morning, do like a 36-hour fast. And then Friday came around. I'm like, no, I'm going to work out on Saturday and then I'll end at 3 on Saturday. And that felt good. I had my 2 shakes. I had a meal. I was like, all right, cool. We're going to start at 3. So I did. And then we ended up driving to the Dells, finding this really cool, it was called the Grateful Shed in the Wisconsin Dells. You're welcome. You can sponsor this episode if you'd like. Just kidding. And he was going to run a marathon the next day. So needed to eat. And I said, I already started my fast at 3. And at that point, it didn't really matter. I was like, oh, that's fine. I'll eat. I'll start my fast tomorrow. So I ended up having these really delicious, clean tacos. So I was all cool about it. Tami made that choice. Tami made the choice to not continue her fast at that point, to enjoy eating this meal. And then knowing I was going to start the fast on Sunday morning. And I had communicated that, right? But I never really explained why it was so important to me. I'd even brought special creamer for that Sunday morning that really doesn't have anything in it. So I'm like, oh, I can still add this to my coffee. And so Sunday morning rolls around, makes a cup of coffee, and it was with regular creamer. I know you drink this, you have broken your fast. All of those hours sleeping are now gone and wasted. And I like to start that way because it makes it easier, because you're already kind of through that sticky part of going through your fast. But I drank it. I drank the coffee. I didn't tell this person oh, I was going to fast. I should expect him to remember. That's my job. That's my responsibility to be like, oh, hey, remember I was going to fast today? I'm sorry, I can't drink this. No big deal. What was it? 60, 50 cents, $1 down the drain of creamer? Whoop-de-doo. No, my ego was like, you can't waste that. You're going to make him feel bad. So I drank it. And not only that, I finished his. So now I have had who knows how much sugar in that creamer and caffeine on an empty stomach. We get down to the marathon. I'm in line, ready to cheer on. I'm taking pictures and videos and stuff like that for social media. And right when the runner's about to take off, all of a sudden I feel like I'm gonna crash. Like my blood sugar was dropping and dropping fast. The runners take off, and I want to be like, medical, medical. I'm not a marathon. I'm not running the marathon. I'm just a spectator, but I need medical right now. She's going down. No joke. I was in a cold sweat immediately. I couldn't walk. I was shaky. Luckily, I had this little bar from Isagenix that I normally would kind of nibble on during my fast because it's like fasting for dummies and I could do that. So I was like, thank God I had that because there's no way I could have walked somewhere to get something. So I had that. I'm eating that. And I'm just sitting there waiting to kind of come to. And once I did, I'm like, okay, I think there's a Walgreens up there. If I can get there, maybe I'll get like a Quest bar or something like that. I gotta stop name dropping until these people sponsor me. And so I get there, it's closed. It's not open until 8. And I'm like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? Luckily, there was a Starbucks across the street. So I go there, there's a long line. I'm like, okay, I'm okay enough to stand right now, but I'm still like dripping in cold sweat. Finally get to the line. I order egg bites. And now I'm cold because I just had the cold sweats. So I order another coffee, but this time I ordered it sugar-free because I'm like, I don't need that anymore. And then I go by the lake and I'm feeling much better now because I literally ate the egg bites before I even got my coffee, before it was ready. I just ate them straight from the tray. So then I go sit by the lake down by Memorial Union. And it was beautiful. And I'm having this very peaceful moment. And I'm like so happy to be there. And I'm genuinely loving being there, watching all of these runners, and especially being able to track Leo on his run because I know he's running with his inner child. I know he is now because he connected. And so if you listen to last week's episode, you know he had this really powerful moment running with his inner child. And we had talked about that before. I'm like, you want to get under 2 hours, you better run that with your inner child because if you're going to run it with your ego will find a way to sabotage that, whether it's through an injury or something. Like, don't come at this through ego and be like, I've got to get under 2 hours or I'm, a failure or a piece of crap or whatever. Don't do that. And he got that loud and clear and knew that ahead of time. So running with his inner child. So every time I see his pace picking up, I'm like, oh, like they're doing it. And that's literally how I was approaching it. Like they're doing it, not just him, like they're doing it. And so it was a very emotional moment for me too, to witness that. And just to know like all these people are just doing something that they love and something that fuels their soul. And it's contagious to be around energy like that. So that's a check for all of you is, they say, the 5 people that you're around, pay attention to that. Notice your energy when you're around people that raise your energy, your vibrations to those who completely drain it. And that is hard when those are people that you love or people that you're married to or people that you're related to. That's a hard look, but you got to do it. Anyway, so get done with the race and all very exciting. Absolutely crushed it. Hour and 43 minutes. Dude started training 2 weeks before, couldn't even run the week before, but just like amazing, right? And now I can start to feel my blood sugar dropping again because of that extra caffeine that I had. So like, hutch. So now we got to eat breakfast. And at this point, I had to eat breakfast. So like I was fine that had to happen. But then I was starting to get mad. I was starting to get agitated. Like I shouldn't even be feeling like this. I should be feeling freaking amazing right now because I should have been 12 hours into my fast by now, but I'm not. And so now I feel like crap. And now I'm having another low blood sugar. This is all ego. Can you hear it? Can you hear it in my tone? Can you feel it in my energy? I mean, honestly, that was probably more of my inner child. Whereas now, that's kind of what my inner child was saying. What my ego wanted to do was blame him. It wanted to blame him. He made the coffee. He put the creamer in there. He didn't remember that you wanted to fast. Yep. And I was like, no. Don't you even dare, ego. You did this. You didn't speak up. You didn't say anything. You didn't make it clear. Do not try to put this on this person. Do not. And, so then we're sitting there eating breakfast, feeling better now. And then go back and hang out. And he just ran 13.1 miles. I'm sitting over here, haven't done shit but eating and drinking caffeine, feeling like crap. And he just wants to chill because he just ran a half marathon. It's sunny out. I still have work to do. And I'm just like, I can't relax. I'm just over there like, again, my inner child is about ready to throw a full-on tantrum. And my ego still wanted to blame him and be like, oh, well, yeah, you can sit over here and chill. You take your little rest and your whatever. So my inner child was ready to throw a full-on tantrum because she's got work to do. I typically work on Sundays. It's sunny out. She wants to be outside. I'm now inside. And like, this is great that you want to rest, but I haven't done shit today. I just went down and had a low blood sugar crash. So it's just, so I am feeling restless and I could feel like I need to say something. And it was so hard. It was so hard. Because again, I know that this is not this person's problem and I do not want to make this about me because this person just had this amazing morning, ran a marathon with his inner child. Do not come in here with your shit and bring in drama. But ego does what ego does best. And it's like, hey, here I am to stir up some stuff. Oh, that's exactly what it did. And finally, I was able to speak up. I'm like, I'm just feeling restless. I know I have things that I need to do, I need to tend to. And I knew that I'm feeling this way because my inner child is like, you haven't paid attention to me all week. It's not even just about this. This was just the last straw. And so don't take this out on him. This is not about him. This is about the fact that all week you have neglected me. And yes, you had to do things for the kids. And yes, you were there to support him. And I loved doing all of that. And all of that felt great. But all of a sudden I was mad about it. My ego was trying to blame everybody else, except take ownership for the fact that I didn't speak up, that I abandoned my needs, that I have been abandoning so many parts of myself for the last 3 months. Every time I ate something that I shouldn't have and that I knew, but I couldn't speak it, I couldn't say it, I was abandoning her. And she was done with it. She's like, no more. This ends right here today. All of it. You are done with this people-pleasing stuff. And she was livid at my ego. And if you follow me on social media, I ended up posting about it. I didn't share the full story because it was already a novel. But what it felt like once, I kind of shared, I need to leave, like stay here, rest, do what you got to do. But I got to tend to me. Like I got to do some work. I need to get outside. I just knew I need to tend to me. That's what's going on right now. And I could identify that. So I was proud of myself for identifying that's what's going on. This is not about you. This is not about you. And then so we get out of the parking lot, kind of saying goodbye. And it was no joke. It felt like my inner child was like, you're not leaving until you fess up, until you say all of it, because we're not doing this again. Because he's kind of saying, yeah, go do what you got to do and all stuff. And I was like, yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. I was still kind of coming at with this tantrumy kind of energy, which once again, he did not deserve. But I just kind of had this feisty energy. Like, yeah, I know. I'll go do that. Yep. It wasn't quite like that, but he might be like, oh, yes, you were. And I knew what it was. My inner child was like, no, you're not just going to leave and not express all of what just happened. Going back to everything this morning about the coffee and how you, Tami, you ego, didn't say anything. And what was interesting is that when I did, he was like, why didn't you say something? You got to tell me that. You got to let me in. If I knew that was that important to you, there's no way in hell I would have let you have that creamer. I would have been like, black coffee for you. That's it. And I know he would have, because that is very much when this person sets a goal, it's like he is on it. Same thing. If I were to communicate a goal that I had, I know he would help. I know he would keep me accountable. I didn't let him in. And then my ego was then mad like at him because, how did he just not know? How did he not remember? Like, you stop it. This is, again, it was not about him. And when I clearly communicated, I hadn't been feeling like myself, and I just really felt like I needed this hard reset. And so that fast was really important to me, and I should have said something. He's like, I would have dumped that coffee so fast. Like, what? You gotta let me in so I can help you, so I can support you. Again, that's not fair to have me throw me into this classroom of understand Tammy's ego, but never give me anything where I can study. And you just expect me to sit down for this exam and I failed because you like given me nothing to help me study, nothing to help me work, nothing. And I was like, yeah, I mean, that's kind of unfair when you put it that way. So after communicating that, on my drive home, my energy completely shifted, like 180. And that was at some point, I think we need to start up Bring Leo on the podcast campaign. Because to hear things from his perspective is so fascinating. And it's really, really holding up a mirror to me. Because he is so aware with my emotions and my energy that can see those shifts, can see when I go into ego, when my facial expressions change, like the way I breathe, the way my eyelids twitch, or way my hands shake, or whatever. Just completely reading what's going on, can see when I go into ego, and then said himself, like, as soon as we had that conversation, it was like, poof, energy completely shifted. Because my inner child was like, thank you. Okay, we're good now. I don't need to carry this heavy energy anymore. She's like, good, let's get back. And this is the whole point, is we're so afraid to say the things and do the things when your inner child doesn't want to stay in that icky, awful energy, that agitated energy. It's like, I just need you to address the thing and then we'll move on. I want to go have fun. I want to go paddleboarding. I don't want to stay here in this. And that's exactly what happened. Immediately my energy shifted and I was back to like jamming out, and I took her paddleboarding after that before we got to work, and I had work to do. I need to go paddleboarding. Like, this is important for me to tend to her right now. This is important for me to have this moment with myself. So that way when I do work, she's like, hey, cool. Thank you for tending to me. Now we can go to work. If I would have tried to do that the other way around, pretty sure my work would have not been focused. She would have still been kind of tantrumy, like, you're going to keep your promise to me? So I'm like, nope, we're doing this. You come first, and then we'll get to work. And it was just such a fun, beautiful experience. And yeah, when I got back to work, she's good. She's like, thank you. That's all I ask. I just ask that you give me a little bit of that time, attention, your energy, and then I'm good. She didn't need me the whole rest of the day. She just needed me to check back in. Because in many ways, I had been abandoning her. Me, Tami, the inner child guru, oracle, whatever. I was abandoning my own inner child. And that freaking broke my heart. And now that this person understands inner child work, is like, yo, you're not doing that again. Not on my watch. Whereas I was letting that for him, but I wasn't doing it for myself. Because my ego was still trying to swoop in and people please. And not wanting to seem like I was too much. Meanwhile, my inner child is over here be like, what the hell is going on? And this is what I'm talking about when we learn how to co-regulate. But we have to first emotionally regulate within ourselves. We need to learn how to not abandon ourselves. When I was by myself, I got really good at that. I got really good at doing that when I was by myself. I had yet to practice or get the test of how do you do that when someone else is in the picture. And I freaking blew it. I blew it, y'all. I just said y'all. I did. I completely blew it. And I needed that slap across the face on Sunday. Big time. And I needed to communicate it. And I needed to be vulnerable about it so he could hear me in that and see me in that and then help me with that and support me with that. And then later this week was saying like, I want to know what your food triggers are just as much as I need to know your emotional triggers so I can help you and support you and not be ordering things or making things that are going to make you physically not feel good. I don't want to make you cry either emotionally. but you got to let me know those things. I'm not like walking in a landmine blindfolded. That's basically what I was doing to him. Oh my goodness. So that was that whole thing. Felt so much better about it. Like, okay, cool. Then this one was, yeah, I know we're coming up on an hour here, but this was important to share because we do this so often. And I don't want to say like I feel ashamed because I understand it from an inner child perspective, but it really, really hurt my heart what I did. And so Tuesday morning at the gym, and I could tell like something wasn't right with him. And I'm trying to not make it about me because we've had this discussion before. Try not to go into ego, try not to create these stories because I'm already thinking like, what did I do? What did I say? My ego already wants to go there. I'm like, Tami, like you didn't do anything. So like, okay. So go check in. Well, my ego's version of checking in was to go stand in front of him and be like, go like this. Like, you know, those of you that are watching, I'm just like moving my hands to be like, what's going on here with your energy without saying the words. I didn't say any words. I just used the hand motions like a freaking mime. You're like, what's going on here? Something feels off. And you know, as well as I know, that sometimes you can't just say how you're actually feeling. How many of us can actually do that and then want to do that in the middle of the gym floor when you're holding dumbbells in your hand? And so he says, you know, like, I'm getting my pump on or whatever. I'm like, okay. And so for me, the ego was like, well, that was a door slammed right in your face. You must have done something, Tami. And so and I was like, okay, apparently someone wants their distance. And I took it personal. And then I have to leave. I did not want to come back. Normally on Tuesdays, I leave, do bus duty, and then I come back. And I did not want to come back. My ego was like, yeah, I'm not going back because I don't want to deal with him. I don't want to deal with his energy. And that would have been me avoiding, right? Ego's classic. That's my ego's favorite is avoidance. But I was like, no, you need to go back. So I went back. And then I get in the sauna, which normally I'm sitting in the sauna with him and like still swimming. I'm like, okay, still swimming. That's fine, you know, okay. And then I'm waiting for him to come to the sauna. Doesn't come in the sauna. I was like, oh, this is definitely about you now. He does not want to be around you. And so then I'm like, well, maybe he went in the steam room. Maybe the sauna was too full. And so I went to fill up my water. I'm not in the steam room. And then I see him in the hot tub, back completely turned. So like, no way you can even make eye contact or even be like, hey, none of that. I was like, oh, like body language, everything. My ego took it as like, he hates you, Tami. Whatever you did is awful. And so I start shutting down. I am like taking it very personal. And I grab my stuff and I'm like, time for me to leave. And he comes up like, see you tonight. And I was like, sure. And kind of looks at me like, okay. And I leave. And now I'm out in the parking lot and I'm like, I want to just drive off and storm off, right? But something in me was like, no, that doesn't feel good either. And actually, it was my inner child be like, no, don't do this. Because now I've met his inner child and I don't want to hurt his inner child's feelings. I know his inner child has an abandonment wound just like mine. I'm not going to storm off like that. And I was just, again, if I could have ChatGPT create a visual of this, it would be like my inner child and his sitting next to each other. Like, what are these adults doing? Why are they acting this way? Why are they ignoring each other? Why can't we all just get along? That's kind of what they're doing. They were just sitting next to each other. What are they doing? And so somewhere in me, I felt like I need his inner child to know that my inner child is like, I got you. I don't know what these two are doing. I don't know what these adults are doing. And they think that they're adulting, but they're not. They're actually acting really immature right now. Which, interesting, right? So I get this little notepad in my car and I didn't know what to write. I actually started writing. I can't find the words, so I'll just use symbols. And I started to draw a little teardrop and then I was going to draw a heart. And then I was like, scrap that. And I started writing again. Well, then my pen died. Now I'm getting flustered. And I was like, well, it must not be meant to be. So I started driving away. And then I was like, oh, my inner child's like, get back there. And you leave a note. She's been feisty. So I drive back around and I get this little notepad, and looks like a little kid drew it. It was like had flowers around the border. And I just rip off a little corner. It has a little flower on it. In the back, I wrote, "From my inner child to yours." That's it. And I put it on his windshield and I drove away. And I was like, okay, at least hopefully when he sees that, there's some softness there, right? Like, okay. Because I didn't want to leave like that. And so I get home, I'm getting ready to go have breakfast with my friend Erica, and literally just like getting ready, running out the door. And he sends me a message. It's like, "Hey, I hope you have a great meeting today. Basically, just have a great day. I love you." Well, my ego read that. I read it through the lens of my ego and was like, "Are you not going to address what just happened? Like, are we just sweeping this under the rug? That we basically didn't talk to each other all morning? Like, are we, what?" So I didn't respond. And granted, yes, I can justify it in that I was driving, and then I was with Erica and I really wasn't looking at my phone. I know, and he knows, I could have acknowledged it, but I didn't read it as a loving, "I hope you have a great day" message. I read it as a passive aggressive, sweep it under the rug, avoidant message. And so I didn't respond until probably 1:00 in the afternoon. Erica and I were talking until like 12:40 by the time I got home. And then when I did address it, I thought I was coming from a place of not my ego, but looking back, she was there. She was there because I was like, I'm going to let him know the thoughts that were going through my head, that like, I feel like this roller coaster, I just need to step off of it for a second. It's been really fast. It's been really intense. Like, good, a lot of healing, all great, but freaking intense. And I just need a moment to catch my breath. And then I'm thinking, am I not supposed to be enjoying going to the gym as much anymore? Is that supposed to be prepping me for down the road or something? That's a whole other story. Anyway, and I'm just saying all of these things. And then I said, like, I don't know if I'll see you tonight. I don't know what I need yet. I don't know if I need time with myself. I don't know if I need time with you. I'll let you know. Which, yeah. So I send that. And then I'm on a coaching call with someone, and I get a message from him that says, or I saw that I had a missed video call. And then he sent me a message like, "Hey, if you can find it in your heart to give me a call later, call me. I'm not doing well." And I was like, shit. And luckily, thank goodness he said that in the way that he said that, because then my ego didn't have a chance to swoop in. Like, I felt that in my heart, which then allowed me to come forward and respond to that versus my ego being like, "Well, suck it up. I don't care." I didn't do that. I immediately called and found out that that night before going to the gym, had found out that one of his dogs, his Great Dane, only has a few months to live. And he had already had to put down his other Great Dane earlier this year. And that was actually one of the first moments that we had in the sauna before we were ever a thing. And he opened up to me about that. And apparently that was a huge deal. Like, I'm used to people opening up to me about deep stuff, but that was not something he was used to. It's like, I can't believe I actually just shared that with you. So here we are months later. He's getting the exact same news about his other Great Dane. Here I am over here making this all about me, when really what had happened was that in the gym, when I came up to him and just did this, like, "What's up with you?" felt like if I speak, I'm going to, again, I hate the word breakdown, but I'm gonna bust out in tears. I'm gonna be emotional in the middle of the gym floor. I don't want to do that. So I'm putting up this wall, this barrier, so I don't do that, because I'm not in an emotionally safe place to do that. I didn't know that. And could I have come back around and be like, "Hey, for real, like, what's up? What's wrong?" I could have done that. I should have done that. I will do that in the future. But I didn't. I immediately took that as an electric fence. Stay away from me. You did something, and I made it about me, instead of going back and be like, "Are you sure?" So when people ask you, like, "Hey, how you doing?" And you're like, "I'm fine." They're like, "No, really, how you doing?" Isn't that a huge difference when you say, "I'm fine. I'm okay." And you said it in a tone and in an energy where, like, maybe you're hoping they pick up on the fact that you're actually not. And it's the people that follow up where you're like, they saw me. They saw me. They felt my energy and knew enough, felt enough to come back and ask and be like, no, I seriously want to know. How are you doing? No, I don't believe that. What's going on? But my ego shut me down immediately and I didn't have the chance to come back and ask because I immediately took it personal and I immediately made it about me, which then prevented me from being there for him in a really, really hard moment. And I felt awful. I can understand it and I can have compassion for why it happened the way it happened. I can understand it. And now I can do better. And this is where we have to take ownership because I actually allowed myself to get mad for the first time, mad that that is my conditioning, mad that I immediately took offense and that I immediately saw his message as dismissive or avoidant. I was mad that that is my model. That is my example. That is my baseline. And I was like, God. And that made, when we think about people taking responsibility for it, like, knock it off, grow up, take responsibility for the fact that you know that your behavior is hurting people, that your avoidance, that your projections, that when your ego lashes out, that it hurts people, even though, yes, I can make sense of it because it's protecting your inner child, all that. That was the first time I allowed myself to get mad. And I had to turn it right back around on myself. My inner child's like, Tami, that's what you're doing here. You're the adult here. You are the adult now, Tami. And you are letting ego do that. It is time for you to stand up to your ego. It is time for you, Tami, to take ownership of this. And obviously, I've been doing the work and I can have grace and compassion for myself. And this was a huge learning moment. I know this all happened for me, for us, but it made me like take real radical responsibility and be like, ego, we're done. We're done doing this. You don't get to swoop in because when you do, you hurt people. You abandon my inner child and you hurt this person. I cannot let you do that anymore. I have to step up and be the adult in this situation because what you did was not okay. I understand. It is all in the name of protection for our inner child, but you have to see what you're doing, ego. You have to see that in protecting our inner child, you actually abandoned her. In effort to protect our inner child, you ended up hurting this person. And my inner child didn't want to hurt him, didn't want to hurt his inner child. That felt awful all the way around. And could I have blamed him? Like, well, you could have told me, so I could have been there for you. We all know, we've all been in that position where you can't say the words and you just hope that someone can pick up that there's something deeper going on. And normally I'm a freaking pro at that, but not when my ego swoops in and shuts down my intuitive abilities, because normally I'd have been all over that. I can read my kids or anyone at the gym like a freaking book. And I did with him until my ego felt triggered and then shut that all down. So then I couldn't find the words to go back and be like, no, really, what's going on here? But what that led to is then being a grown-up and then having a really powerful conversation around why that happened, what we can do differently next time. And like I said, yeah, he could have told me, but then he said something very profound. He's like, that 13-year-old boy doesn't know how to ask for help. If you remember from last week's episode, when his parents moved him from Puerto Rico to Florida and he was basically on his own. He lived with his older brother, but he was basically on his own. He became an adult at age 13. He had to learn how to fend for himself, how to feel for himself, which really he didn't. And that's why he shut it all down. That's why he suppressed all of it. And so he didn't know how to ask for help because at that time he didn't have the opportunity to ask for help. So at that point, ego did what it had to do. It had to learn how to be self-reliant. It had to learn how to suppress those things and move on and get the job done and pay the bills and do all those things and like be that adult, be that hyper independent person because that's what he had to do to literally survive that. But now as an adult, here he is, a grown man can't ask for help, doesn't know how to let support in. Literally the exact same thing that happened to me on Sunday. So here we are. Like, do you think God brought us together for a reason? both very willing to give love and support, but both have a very hard time knowing how to ask for it and to receive it. But that's all he wanted, was me to ask one more time. Just ask me one more time so I can then ask you, because usually ego is the one that answers first, right? Ego is like, I'm fine. But your inner child's like, no, I'm not. Why did you just say that? But if the person walks away, your inner child's like, oh, I didn't get it. I would have told you if you would have asked again. That's why if you usually ask a second time, you'll get a different answer, because now your inner child is answering the question. You know what? I'm not fine. Work is really stressful. I feel like my marriage is falling apart. The kids, it's been super stressful. Summer's coming up. You'll get the real answer if we ask a second time, because a lot of us are working through that ego filter. Ego wants to not be a burden, so it's going to give you the, yeah, everything's great. Everything's good. I'm fine. Yeah, everything's okay. Bullshit. And I know I'm the person that wants the long answer. I don't want your short surface level answer. I actually want to know how you're doing. And if we can all be able to hold space for that for people, because again, I feel comfortable and safe in my emotions where I can ask people and truly hear what they have to say and hold space for them. If you don't feel comfortable in your own emotions and someone comes to you and they're bringing emotion to you, you're not going to be the person to ask a second time, because like, I don't want to sit in your emotion. I don't know how to sit in mine. This makes me feel uncomfortable. This is why like going to a funeral and things like that is super uncomfortable for people, because you're sitting in your own discomfort and we don't know how to respond. We don't know how to support people, and then think about how many times like people don't go to those things because it's so uncomfortable. But then you regret not going because you weren't there for the person that you really cared about. That's a regret you don't want to live with, right? I'm going to get a second chance in this situation. We don't always get that second chance. And so at some point, we all have to stand up to our ego and be like, enough is enough. You are hurting people. You are hurting me and our inner child first and foremost, but you are hurting people. You are destroying relationships. Is that really how you want this relationship to go? Are you really going to be okay with the way things ended if your life ended tomorrow? Are you okay with that, ego? Really? If not, you better get to work. You better make amends. You better have the conversation. How about you just start with saying, I'm sorry. I didn't have the tools to know how to respond appropriately in that situation. And I think about that now. I am emotionally intelligent. I can own that. I can claim that. But emotional maturity can sometimes go right out the freaking window when I'm triggered. And that's exactly what happened. Is I just felt like this little kid making it all about me on the playground. And that's what can happen until adult Tami comes into the scene and say like, hold up here, ego, what are you doing? Why are you messing this up? Why are you being a jerk? Why are you saying or not saying the things that you need to say? We operate from ego so often, and we talk about autopilot all the time. Guess who is the pilot? Typically in those situations, or in all of those situations, your ego. Your ego is flying that plane like, hey, we're just cruising along. We're just letting life fly by. We're in our comfort zone when really it's not comfortable at all because we're not doing anything that's fulfilling in our lives. But here we are flying to who knows what destination. You have to get in that cockpit and be like, yo, ego, you don't get to fly this plane anymore. We are done on autopilot. I need you to get in back. I am flying this plane now, driving the bus, flying the plane, whatever. You get it. But that's where I needed adult Tami to show up. I needed adult Tami to show up in this moment. Man, it can be really, really hard for some of us. And so I want to give all of you grace and compassion when you weren't equipped with those tools. I had a conversation with a coaching client today. He was kind of beating himself up for where he was at with things. You don't have those tools. We weren't equipped with those. So many of us, our parents weren't equipped with those tools. So then we weren't equipped with those tools. But now it is your responsibility to go out and get those freaking tools. Go out and get the support that you need. Go to therapy if you need to. Go to counseling if you need to. Watch a webinar if you need to. Schedule a session with me if you need to. Take responsibility for your inner child, and so that way you're not damaging other relationships in your life that actually do mean something to you. Stop with this "it is what it is" bullshit. No. I'm just at peace with it. No, you're not. No, you're not. And I could look and be like, I can see X, Y, and Z and tell you that no, you're not. I can see you hiding it. I can see you numbing it. I can see you suppressing it. You are not okay with it. You are not fine with it. You just won't look at it. Guys, we got one life to live here. And I know listening to this podcast is putting a big old mirror right in front of your face. And I am so proud of all of you that are still watching, that are still here with me, that are sitting here like, oh, she's like, I'm not yelling at you. I'm trying to empower you. And hopefully you can see it as that. Because if you have clicked off because you're like, well, what does she know? That's your ego. I want you, adult you, to hear me, your inner child to hear me, to see me and be like, yeah, wow. Okay. So whether or not that tool is the Roots and Wings program, join us for that. That's a tool you can put in your tool belt. Again, there's so many tools out there to start. How do I feel emotionally regulated? Ask ChatGPT. How do I start to feel safe in my own emotions? Because again, it might not be immediately going to that person or having that conversation. You might need some tools first. Because you could see I've been doing this freaking work, and you saw how easy it was for me to resort back to old habits, to old conditioning when I was presented with another test in the form of another person. Now, now I have opened up. I have allowed this person in who now knows what my ego looks like, sounds like, feels like, and can call me out. And I need that help right now. I kind of need those training wheels right now because I'm riding a new bike. I had ridden my bike before and I was doing good on it. Now I've advanced to this bigger, taller bike. I need training wheels right now. I allowed this person to be able to support me. And yes, can I do it on my own? Apparently not. I was going to say, I like to think that I could, but apparently not. Apparently, I need that help and the support. I need someone to call me out because of how quickly and easily it is for my ego to swoop in. I need to be like, someone be like, no, 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 da, 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 da. I see what's happening over here. I see your ego swooping in. Nope. Tami, stay. I need adult Tami here. So can I allow that support as like training wheels? Yes, absolutely. Do I need to rely on them forever? No. I want to be able to be on my own and be able to speak up from my adult perspective and be able to manage and handle my ego on my own. But right now, I need someone to help support me so I don't slip back right into people pleasing habits. Just like he needs me to check in and be like, do you need help? Can I be there for you? How can I support you? Sometimes we just need that extra little help when someone's trying to learn a new skill, a new habit. And so give people grace and compassion, but also take ownership of where you need to be showing up as your adult self to help reparent your inner child, but also to stand up to your own bully, to your ego. And again, I don't like to call it a bully because I know ego, it's like, I'm trying to protect your inner child. I know you are, and I love you for that, but man, right now you are not helping. You did in the past. I get it. I understand what you did, but right now you are hurting us, and I need you to stop. You got to step in. So that is what has happened in the last few days. I told you guys, I was talking to someone earlier and they're like, oh, I want to start a podcast, but I was so worried about like not having content. And I was like, that has never been a fear of mine. I don't need guests. I could literally, if you guys can handle me and this should show that is my life, I got content for days for you guys, weekly, yearly. And I don't know if you enjoy this style of podcast. I hope that you do, because I hope that you hear yourself somewhere in these stories and that something speaks to you, that your inner child speaks to you, or that you're able to feel and see your own ego through this and be able to be like, whoa, yeah. I don't want to be on ego autopilot anymore. I gotta look at my life right now you can't stop the plane midair, but you know what I mean? Like, okay, course correct here. That we can do. So again, please let me know if anything in this episode resonated. Also, please like if you've made it this long, comment, share it, subscribe on YouTube if you haven't, or rate it on Apple Podcast or Spotify. All of those things help. And it just helps get this message out to more people. I'm not counting numbers or likes. That's not what this is about. This is not about validation. This is about, because of the way the system is set up, when you do those things, it helps reach more people. And that is the whole goal. And that is the whole purpose. And that is why I thank you for doing those small acts, because it's helping one other person possibly feel seen. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for supporting me, for holding space for me. And I will say for Leo as well, as he has to put up with me as we are learning and growing and healing along this whole journey. So thank you so much. I've got some really fun guests coming up for you. So hopefully I can calm down on all these life lessons that are just happening to me over here and just share some other stories in the meantime. But thank you all again for the beautiful exchange of energy, for your time and your energy today. My inner child sees and values and loves your inner child. Until next week. Bye, everybody.